RPS Solar Pumps is in South Carolina today. We're with Jared from Southern Homesteads. Hi, Jared.
Hey.
Jared makes awesome mini cabins, off-grid cabins. They're all handmade by him and his team, but he also has a ton of solar pumps on his property that he has been installing over the past 4 years. He's got about 4 of them that are feeding his home, his animals, his homestead.
Yeah, so we're an 85-acre farm up here in the mountains in South Carolina. We've got a homestead with horses and cows and sheep and chickens and rabbits and kind of the run-of-mill of all things. So this one is that's a steer, and that is a Jersey A2 crossed with a Red Angus, ultimately bound for a dinner plate. And this one is a registered A2 cow, and so she's right about a year old, and so we'll breed her back here in the next few months.
Perfect. This is her water that she's getting from the RPS 200.
That's an RPS 200.
That's right over here. So it's feeding this hydrant and then over to a hose, and then that just fills up your tanks.
And we're getting to the time of year right now where we'll go ahead and hook it back up to the automatic system and just let it fill automatically. We just, during hard freezes, we have to disconnect them. It does freeze. And that's, for people that don't know, these hydrants, they're antifreeze hydrants. So it's actually, the hose is a couple feet in the ground. Depending on what your frost level is, they get buried deeper. And it actually drains this whole thing out so that there's no water that's above the frost line when they're turned off. So they won't freeze on you. One little thing a lot of people don't know, quick tip, if you throw this hose into the water, when you turn it off, because it actually drains this out below ground, you'll actually siphon all the water straight back out of your water trough and empty your water trough just as fast as you filled it. On a note from a well perspective, and we're gonna look at this one, which is hand dug, we dug it. Livestock require a much lower yield well than houses do. We're able, unlike with a house where, we've got mass consumption in a short period of time because we're taking showers, dishwashers, all this stuff that runs, and we really need a little bit higher yield, or we look for a higher yield. Livestock troughs, when they go onto an automatic waterer, I don't care. It can run all day long and put out a half a gallon a minute. I don't care, because it will consistently put it out, and we never have that spot where we really need that high yield. And so it's a great opportunity to have a shallower well, to have, depending on what region you're in for us, and in a much lower yield well, I just don't need that pickup of volume. So for us, this well we're gonna get into, we literally hand dug it. I'm trying to remember the company we bought the hand drill from. And encased it. It's a 4-inch casing going down.
Yeah, let's walk over there.
Yeah, yield on this well it's 28 feet deep. 28 feet. We hit a rock that we couldn't get beyond, and so this was, if I'm being honest, this was a science experiment as much as anything. And
wow! I mean, I can see like a big rock right here.
Yeah. And
it's
so
pretty hard ground that you drilled through.
It's pretty hard ground. In the drill setup that we did, and I'll show it to you, it was impressive. It's a lot of manual labor. And so we cased the whole thing all the way down, and we actually put a silt sock up over and you cut a bunch of slits in it so water can go in. So this is not into granite like a standard house well would be. Started out really, really muddy. We pumped it for a few days after shocking the well real good. After a few days, the water started to clear up, but it just had a glistening in the sun that you would see of like the really, really fine particles. Now we're 2-3 years deep now on this setup. The water is crystal clear. When I measure, we get 28 gallons of water out of it, and it'll hit the low well sensor. It'll shut off, it's pumped out. You wait 5 minutes, you got another 28 gallons of water out of it. So we calced out yields fairly low, but again, this is livestock. I don't care. Super cool. It's got a low well sensor on it. It turns itself back on. I don't have to do anything. We just go. We did put a pressure tank on it, a tiny pressure tank. The truth is, that was a pressure tank that we took off somebody's house, and so I had it. It was free. We decided Sometimes when we're rinsing off horses and stuff at night, it was nice to have a gallon or two just to be able to hit them real quick. But if the truth is, this isn't needed out here.
It's like 15 gallons, something like that.
Something
20,
like that.
Probably like a 20 gallon.
You get about 1.5 to 2 gallons of water out of it before the pump has to turn on. It's a fairly insignificant amount.
Okay.
One of the big things I will say that I've noticed between, and we'll probably put bigger solar panels up on this, between the 200 and 400, is that the pressure build on the 200 under just solar, so there's no power out here, this is 100% solar, is significantly less than the 800. Which, again, livestock waters, I don't need high pressure. This was a science experiment. We've messed with it all over the place. I don't care if this thing runs at 10 psi all day, every day. It's totally fine.
Yeah, and the 200, it'll make it easy. You won't have to swap out your pump because the pump that is in there can stay in there. And then you just add some more solar panels on because the RPS 200 and 400 is the exact same submersible well pump.
Yes.
So you can go from 24 volt to 48 volt and suddenly you've got a whole different setup with more pressure and more water, but it's from the same pump.
And our big thing on it is days like today where we're real low light. If this pressure gauge actually worked, because I can tell you we do not have 50 pounds of pressure, and I think it's set at 20. Under low light conditions like this, with just the 200, it struggles more than I would like to see. It needs a little bit more panel up there. But once again, I will tell you, for watering, I mean, we're watering probably 60 animals.
Yeah,
some cows, some horses,
a significant amount.
And it's not a challenge keeping up on any of that. Plus dogs, and plus we use it for horses and cats and other. Matter of fact, there's a cat there I didn't even see.
Hey, bud.
On a total side note, not involving this, one of the things that we show people a lot of times when you're out, this is, so again, we built this as a well house / shed. Lights are super critical. The easiest thing you can do, this is Amazon. They're like 20 bucks. It's a security light with an exterior panel. We mount the panel outside. At night, you walk in here, you don't need a switch. It turns on, lights the thing like daylight, stays on for 5 minutes at a time. It turns on and off, super, super easy. This kind of stuff has come a long ways in the last few years. Super easy to get lights if you're dealing with something that's totally off-grid, way away.
And you don't have a 110 volt to 72 volt converter on here.
I do not, and I'm probably going to wind up adding one. It was a mistake not. We have run into some circumstances where we have gone a prolonged period where we've had to bucket some water over here, and I didn't have any other option on it. So I'll probably wind up mounting a converter up here. The batteries at this point are probably not good anymore. We used to run battery, and again, that's only 24 volt, which matched what we have for panels. We had more problems with battery function and keeping all of this running correctly. So then, of course, the kids would come out here. So like if the waterers tried to run at night, something drew down, the batteries would be totally dead. So now kids come out here to do things in the morning and to do chores. Well, the whole system won't work because those solar panels are now charging batteries and it's not directly running the system. So then they switch the switch over so it's solar, so they bypass the batteries so that they can do what they need to do out here. They never come back and switch it back to battery, and then so we wound up in that constant fight of it, and before coming to finally the realization or the conclusion, it's just not needed for out here. And like I said, for our actual off-grid homes that we do, we're already doing a solar system for a house. We don't do the batteries in here. So water at night, just not important for us in this environment.
And it was too many cooks in the kitchen too. You had too many people coming in and out of here, operating the system differently. Yeah, and for some people, if it's a single person operating the system, it's like, that might work a little bit better than if you have a bunch of employees or kids who forget to turn it back to the right setting.
And for me, my own frustration in the whole thing is because all I do is get the phone call that says the well system doesn't work up there. And now it's something for me to go work on. As you guys have seen, we've got plenty to work on around here. And it just really, again, for us, once we came to the conclusion of really thinking this through and going, okay, the battery isn't a necessary thing at all for livestock. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I will probably come back and add an inverter so that if we do get to a place where we have prolonged periods, I can go ahead and get water easily at night, or on low conditions like today.
I noticed something too that we've seen across all the systems, that you're using poly pipe instead of hard PVC or harder inline. You're using a lot of poly or flexible PEX for your installations, from the pressure tank, from the well. Yeah.
I'm not a hard pipe fan, and there's a handful of reasons why. Number one, it gets way more complicated in putting it in. When you have to get all the angles to line up and you've got to run everything around. There is some flow reduction when you get into 90 degrees. So now I'm running all of this, and so I'm hurting my cause on it. It took more time. I'm not helping the process, I'm hurting the process. But then the whole other side of this stuff, if it freezes, if this pipe freezes, and this one has frozen several times. We don't have anything on it. There's no heat lamp out here. It just is what it is. We either just let it warm up a little bit. Like I said, we don't do hard freeze for any long period of time, or I'll just run out here with a torch and just warm the pipes just a little bit. No harm, no foul.
You can't do that with
You
PVC.
can't do that with PVC. You can't do that with any kind of hardline pipe. It's now I'm repairing pipe. So for me, it's 100%. Going down into the well, same thing. The biggest deal going down into the well is that you can't pull the well pump inside a well house. And if you're hardline piped on your actual pipe going down, not only can I not pull it up out of here without cutting it into pieces, when we pull them, I got to use equipment to do it. That column of water when you're pulling hard pipe gets real heavy real quick, versus soft line, which I'm able to lay over and we're able to pull them very, very quickly. So I am standard on all well pumps, whether it's solar or AC. 100% of the time, it's back to polyline.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So.
And that's what we did at your friend Joe's the other day.
Yeah.
We're going to have another video about that. And it worked out really well, using some above ground PEX for above ground, and then the poly pipe for installation.
Yeah, and like his, the reality is I would have used poly for everything that was there, but they had already used PEX to tie into a lot of it. So, we worked with what was there. But you'll see in that video, PEX offered the same benefit as the poly pipe does. So
work with what you got.
Work with what you got.
Can we go out and see some of the other hose bibs in action?
Yeah. Let's see what we got here.
All right, so you got another hydrant out here.
Yeah, so it's one of the things that I'm super, super big about. If you look, like we have permanent fencing for our paddocks. A lot of people that get into the homesteading side, and nobody might care on your guys' stuff, but they make the mistake of trying to use temporary fencing. And I just tell you, if you had 1,000 acres and you're moving your animals twice a day, and you have time to move fences twice a day, because that's what you do for a living, man, temporary fencing is great. If you're like the rest of us, that look at what is left from a flood and from winter. They have eaten everything they can in these paddocks, and obviously we're feeding hay. If there is grass here and not there, they will go through temporary fencing like it did not exist. And then the amount of time that is consumed with having to move the temporary fencing constantly, it is a lot. And every once in a while we'll use it to just isolate an area, but if you don't move them fast enough, it's gone. They'll blow right through it. And once they figure out they can blow right through it, they don't stop blowing right through it.
Yeah.
They just go wherever they want. So I'm a huge fan of, it is more expensive to put up full paddocks. As soon as grass starts coming in and we're off of hay, we'll go back to full rotation on everything. I've got to open a gate and they go in. We run water to every paddock. It's all on automatic waters. They're always full. All I have to do is open a gate, they're moved, chores are done. And so, and that's a big part of, so much energy goes into homesteading and animal care and all of this, and figuring out if I spend a little bit more now, I got a ton of time back later. Here we go. So they rehooked up the automatic water here. This is a perfect example of It will do this all day long, cycling through them.
Between each tank.
Yeah.
When it needs it.
When it needs it.
What kind of automatic water is this?
Just a Tractor Supply, $30 bolt them onto the side.
Nice.
If anybody has suggestions of higher quality ones, I'm totally open, but
I think if it works, it works.
they've worked. Super simple system. This one, they probably drank it down over the last 2 days. We're done with hard freezes, so we're starting to hook the waters up again.
And so this is just open all the time.
Yeah, and now that we're done freezing, they'll all get hooked up and we just leave them all open.
That's great. Oh, this is awesome to see in action.
So
and that's all from the RPS 200 that's over there.
That's
and
all.
I can see the green light.
Yeah, you see the green light.
Distance.
And believe it or not, from my driveway, you can actually see the green light through there. So I can see what's going on with our well.
I see it just there if I zoom in enough. Yeah, cool.
And so again, this is one of those, I've actually got the door for that. I'm not gonna put it on. There's just there's no benefit for it other than, somewhere in my brain says it's not finished.
I think it works. If it works, it works. That seems to be the theme.
Like I said, the convenience of being able to look out and know all the way from the house whether we had a problem with the well or where it's at.
Yeah. All right, Jared, it's been awesome visiting your homestead. Thank you so much for inviting RPS Solar out to your property, and hopefully we will see you again soon.
I look forward to it. Thanks for coming out, guys.